Hey, what's up you guys? In this video, I'm gonna be going over some really cool tips on how to maximize everything that you can on the Airbnb platform. Whether you are an existing host already or looking to become a host yourself in the future, these tips will really help maximize your profits and save back a lot of time. All right, let's get right into it. I'm gonna be going over some stuff here that you may or not be already using. Now, I am gonna be using my computer screen here so that you can take a look at actually all the features as is shown on the platform so that you can implement it yourself basically as soon as possible. So let's get right into it. All right, let's get right into it here. Okay, we're here in my Airbnb dashboard. Now, as you can see, I've logged in. Okay, so I've logged in already. And at the top here, you'll see a couple of menus here. You'll see today, inbox, calendar, insights, and menu. Today kind of is an overview of what's going on currently in your booking system. Inbox, needless to say, is your messaging system here. Calendar shows your calendar here. Now, this is a multi-calendar here, which is a really nice feature that Airbnb has upgraded to, where you can see if you have multiple listings, you can see them simultaneously, and there's a lot of cool features you can do with that. Insights show kind of more performance, opportunity, your earnings here as well, your SuperHost status here, and the menu, of course, is anything that's remaining, such as editing your listing, your reservations. You can create a new listing here. At the top, you'll see here some features that Airbnb are kind of testing out. I'm not sure if this was rolled out to just the SuperHost or not, but these are features that they're gonna be rolling out that they're kind of testing and asking their users for a lot of feedback on. So there's a lot of other features down here. If you click the little bell, these are notifications. And then of course, if you click your profile picture here, you'll be able to edit and view your profile, account information here, some help and etc. So the first thing we're gonna be going over are what's called quick replies. So again, we'll go under here in inbox. Now, if you're sending, again, if you're a host already, or you're looking to become a host, and this is a really, really cool feature that, again, you may or may not be using. It's called quick replies here. So if you go down here, let's say, for example, I've got this guest that's currently or had just confirmed today, as opposed to typing out every single messages manually, just typing because this takes a lot of time. You'll start to notice if you're a host already, if you're a seasoned host or you're a super host, you can kind of probably attest to the fact that you're answering a lot of the really common questions. I would say there's anywhere between maybe half a dozen and a dozen questions that come up. I mean, of course, you'll get the outliers every now and then where it's a very unique question, but for the most part, people tend to ask the same questions. I'll give you a quick example of like, hey, can we check in early? Hey, can we check out later? So these are really common questions that people ask that, again, it becomes very laborious if you manually are responding every single time to that inquiry. So if you click down here, it's right next to the text box here. If you hover over, it says quick replies. If you click on that, these are the quick replies that I've created. So these are, if you want to think of it as templates that you can really simply use on a click of a button. So you don't have to type these over and over and over again. So I'll click on one here, for example, confirmed booking. I'll use hit reply. So you'll see here that it auto populates this entire message. You can customize this and update it as needed. So it's a really cool way for you to do things very quickly. Again, what we're trying to do is save you a lot of time because again, you want to spend as little time as possible while maintaining the excellent experience that your guests are having. And so this is a really great feature that saves you a ton of time. Before they had this feature, I used to save all these templates onto my notebook. On my phone or on my computer, and I used to copy and paste from there. So the fact that they have this on the actual platform is fantastic. I mean, it's click and go. So all I really have to do at this point is click send, and it'll send the message out. So really, really super simple to use. Again, if you're using it, I know you probably can attest to how convenient the feature is. And if you're not, then this really is one of the main features that I think will save you a lot of time and energy in managing your Airbnbs. Okay, the next feature I wanted to show you guys is a feature called scheduled messages. So if you want to go into inbox again on the left-hand side here, you can kind of scroll down to all the guests that I'm currently contacting and interacting with. These could be guests that are currently staying in my unit, or they could be guests that have confirmed that are upcoming that may have any questions. So if you click on one of those, if you go down to the bottom, again, if you want to go to quick replies, click on that. And then there's at the upper right-hand corner, there's a button called manage. So if you click on manage and you click on this little hamburger here up on the upper left called open, under quick replies, under the setting menu is going to be a tab called scheduled messages. Now you'll get a list here. So now what I've done, and I'll go ahead and put this in the description below, but these are messages that you have pre-scheduled to go out based on whenever you want. So for example, I've got templated messages that are scheduled to go out for confirmed bookings, which goes out 5 minutes after they have confirmed their booking. I've got a pre-approval a pre-approval message that goes out, or pre-arrival message that goes out 4 days before their check-in. And then I have another one that goes called check-in update. This is the day of check-in at 7 p.m. I make sure that I contact them and say, hey, how's everything going? Were you able to check in okay? Do you have any questions or concerns? The other one here I have is a wellness message. So that goes out 1 day after their check-in. So 24 hours after they've checked in, it's just a wellness check to say, hey, it's been a day. How's everything going? Are you having a wonderful time experience? If you have any questions, let me know. The fifth one is a checkout auto message that goes out 1 day before their checkout. That's providing instructions on how to check out, what to do with the laundry and the trash, etc. And the last one, again, this might be a message that some might deem unnecessary, but for me, it is very important. It's a follow-up message that goes out 14 days after their checkout. I want to make sure that just because they left, I'm not leaving them, high and dry. I want to make sure that I'm following up with them. So 2 weeks after they've come back home from vacation, they're back in their normal lives. They're probably not going to be thinking about, their host on their vacation to Hawaii. But I want to just make sure that, I check in with them. Again, it adds to the experience to let them know that, hey, wow, their host actually checks up on them like 2 weeks after I've got back from my vacation. That's fantastic. So, because, I do have a lot of guests that actually end up coming back. And so I want to make sure that, I stay top of mind, and just overall, it's just a nice thing to do. So if you want to go in here, I'll show you some of the features here. For example, I'll go up with confirmed reservation. I'll click on that. Now this confirmed, the template name here at the top is whatever you want to title it. Again, this won't be shown to any guests. So it's whatever that helps you verify what type of messages. So for me, for example, it says confirmed reservation, and then I say thank you. This message box here is anything that you want to type in. The really cool thing here that you can use are these inserts. So if you click on that, they've really created a lot of inserts since they started. But the one that I would really use most is the guest's first name or last name, just to make it a little bit more customizable, a little bit more individualized and tailored to my guests. So instead of saying hello stranger, hello guest, you can actually input this feature here, this little shortcut. And what it'll do is it'll auto-populate it with the guest's first name or their last name, if you want to say Mr. or Mrs., whatever it is. And again, here, I won't go over the whole thing, but there's everything from confirmation codes to the address of your listing, to the Wi-Fi password, house rules, directions. So you can use any of these shortcuts to insert into and embed into your message so that your messages become a lot more custom. So you'll notice in here, I say aloha because we are in Hawaii, and then the guest's first name. So when the guests get it, it'll say aloha Julie or aloha Steven, as opposed to, again, something very generic. And this basically just says, hey, thank you for your confirmed booking. Just want to say, hey, how grateful I am for booking with me. I'm looking forward to welcoming you. And then, of course, I say, hey, provide a phone number for emergency contact, and here's my contact information, and so forth here. Down here, if you have one listing, then this really won't be applicable to you. But if you have multiple listings, you can actually apply this to all or however many listings you'd like. So for me, I've got 2 listings here, so I applied it to both, so you don't have to duplicate your efforts. So that's under the listings here. Now, this is where it's really cool. At the very bottom here, you'll see a section called scheduling. Now, as I mentioned before, you can schedule for these things to go out automatically, as opposed to remembering to do it manually. I mean, if I had to do this manually, I would probably get it only 50% of the time. So to have this scheduling feature is amazing. So again, here it says choose an action that'll trigger your message and how long before or after the action to send. So for example, here, again, this is a confirmed booking. So booking confirmed, that's my kind of my anchor. You can also base it on your check-in date or your check-out date. So it gives you the 3 options here. So booking confirmed. So I say here, and then at the second drop down here, it gives you the option of how long or what type of time are you looking to send this out, after or before the event or the action you stated before. So when I say 5 minutes after, this means that the guest will get a confirmed booking thank you email message 5 minutes after they've confirmed their booking. So you can imagine if you have a lot of different templates, you can schedule it based on whatever you need. So I'll give you another example. As I mentioned before, my pre-arrival message goes out 4 days before their check-in. So in that scenario, I would go on their check-in here and then 4 days before. So you see, I've got this all scheduled. So this is automated. And what you want to do is leverage automation. Airbnb probably spends millions of dollars on development. So they've created this feature so that it could become a lot more easier for you as a host to buy back your time. And that's the most important thing. You want to automate as much as you can while maintaining that great experience that the guests are looking for. All right, guys, the next feature I wanted to show you is a feature called the Guidebook. If you go under here, under menus at the top, about halfway down, you'll see a tab here called Guidebooks, if you want to click on that. And then I've created a couple guidebooks here. So basically what a guidebook is here, and I'll read the description here. Guidebooks are an easy way to share recommendation with guests. Take a few minutes to create one. It's a great way to win over travelers. When you're traveling somewhere, you want local secrets. You want to go and eat where the locals eat. You don't want to go to you don't want to go to Taco Bell or McDonald's, right? When you're on vacation, you want to go to like a hole in the wall place that has the best burritos or the best tacos or the best Chinese food, right? So this is an opportunity for you to create your own personalized guest book for your guests so that they know exactly where to go eat, where to go to the beach, where the hidden hikes are, and so forth. And my guests love this. And so if you haven't created one already and you're a host, I would highly recommend that you create a guest book, because a lot of guests are actually looking for this. So if you don't have it, it makes your listing a lot less attractive and competitive in the marketplace. So if you want to create a guest book here, you'll notice a tab here called Create under the guest book. You can create a title and cover for it. And then really all you do is you hit Add to Guest Book. Let's say, for example, a place here. And then once you start putting in the place here, it'll start auto-populating these features. Now you can add your own photo, or they use the one they already provided. You fill it out. It's pretty self-explanatory as to why you recommend this place, the category, and you hit save. The list on your guidebook will continue to auto-populate. So you can continuously update this as you see fit. So if you have a new recommendation that you thought of, or you found a new place that's really, really great that you want to put in here, that you want to recommend to your guests, you can continuously update your guidebook, and I would recommend that you do it periodically, at least once every 6 months or once every quarter. All right, the next feature I wanted to show you guys is a relatively new one that Airbnb is testing out. It's called Rule Sets. Now, if you go under calendar here on the top menu, let's say I'm going to click on one of my listings, for example, and I'm going to click on one of the days or several days. I'm just going to click on, let's say, for example, Monday here. And if you go on the right-hand side, this gives you the option of adjusting the date. It shows you the guest total, and then a private note for yourself. And at the very bottom, you'll see a section here called Create a Rule Set. If you click on that, now, again, this is a relatively new feature, but it's really, I think, very powerful. Now, what this does is it allows you to set the different rules for different seasonality, for different holidays, for peak periods. If you're in an area like Hawaii, like I am, where they have high season and low season for tourists, and really kind of custom dates. You can set rules for basically any time period that you would like based on what your preferences are. So what this allows you to do is basically have a lot more control over your pricing. So as opposed to having a flat rate or a flat price from the beginning of the year all the way to the end, you can adjust it so that you could actually maximize your profit and your gains, your rental income. Now, keep in mind that if you set a rule set, it supersedes anything that you set before. So for example, if you have a weekend price of $185, if you set a rule to increase it during that vacation period, that peak period, it'll trump that $185 that you created in your calendar, and it'll apply the new rule that you set. So just keep that in mind. So if you go back in here, as I mentioned before, it says create new rule set. You can give it a nickname here, for example, like, peak season. You can use different color codes, which is kind of nice. You can list a price here. Now, this is a price increase or decrease based on your standard or your default price. So as I mentioned before, if your nightly price is $185, maybe during peak season you want to increase it by 5%. So in here you put 5% increase. Length of stay discount. This is applicable for people that are staying longer than 2 nights or 3 nights or a week. You can set that to whatever you'd like. Last minute discounts, of course, or if someone decides to, book last minute, so it's not pre-planned, you can offer discounts on those. There are early bird discounts and availability. So really kind of check this out here. It's a really cool feature that they've rolled out, again, to really give you a lot more control over the pricing based on high seasons, holidays, etc. So again, for example, around the New Year's, people are doing a lot of traveling. They want to spend New Year's in a different place and they're looking for Airbnbs. That might be a great week. That might be a great rule set. So for example, up here, you might want to say New Year's, right? And then base your increases in price based on that. All right, let's go into our next feature, and it's called Smart Pricing. So at the very top here, again, we're going under calendars. It'll pop up all your listings. So I'm going to click on the first listing here. On the right-hand side, if you want to click on a date, for example, I'll click on one that's available. On the right-hand side, it'll auto-populate this area called your pricing. Now, under the price, this is where you can set the price. For example, in this case, the price for the day is $170. Under it, you'll see this little toggle option here where it says Smart Pricing On. If you click that off to the left, then Smart Pricing is off. If you click it to the right, it's on. Now, what Smart Pricing does is basically Airbnb uses its algorithms to basically help you set the price. Now, you do want to set parameters. So, for example, you want to give Airbnb a range because you don't want to give it full range over your price. So what you do is you set a parameter. You want to say, okay, this is the lowest that I'm willing to go, and this is the upper limit of what I'm willing to go. So if you set your parameters, basically what Airbnb does is it calculates and uses its algorithms to predict a price that's optimal based on what's going on around you. So for example, if there are similar listings that are fetching a higher price and your price kind of low, as long as it's within the parameters that you have given Airbnb, it'll either increase or decrease your nightly price because that's the feature that it uses. Okay, now if you want to set the parameters or the range for your smart pricing, you go under menus, you go under your listings, you find your listing, and under pricing and availability, there's going to be a section here called nightly price. You want to hit edit on nightly price. And at the very top, you'll see here that the smart pricing feature is enabled right now. And this is where you would set a minimum price and a maximum price here. So you'll see here that I've set it at $175 as a minimum and $250 as a maximum. Now you'll see at the very bottom here that's underlined, Airbnb will actually give you a recommendation on what to set it, but you of course have the authority or the right to set it to whatever you deem that would fit for your listing. Now, another great feature, again, that most hosts may not be aware of, or they may be aware of, but are the discount section here. So again, we're under the same section here under listing or pricing and availability. About halfway down, you'll see a section here called discounts. Now, under discounts, you'll see weekly discounts, monthly discounts, and add any other discounts for their stays. Now, it gives you 3 different options. So these are discounts that you give for longer stays. So again, in this example, weekly or monthly, you can have here semi-annual if you have a listing that is getting really long-term bookings. So for me, example here for weekly discounts, so if someone books for 7 days or longer, it automatically applies a 2% discount. Now, if someone were to book a month, then it applies a 5% discount. This may be really attractive to guests that are coming and looking for longer term stays. Now, my listings on average about 4 days, 4 to 6 days. So these discounts usually don't apply, but it is a great incentive for someone that may be looking for longer stays. Another great feature here, guys, is if you want to go under insights, under occupancy and rates, it gives you the option about halfway down under here, average occupancy rate, to compare yourself or your listings to other similar listings. So as far as rates, you see here, the solid line is my performance. The dotted lines here are similar listings. So I'm doing a little bit better. And you can assess the different metrics. So for example, these are occupancy rates, cancellation rates versus you and other listings, length of stay, nightly rate. So you'll see here, what Airbnb doing is it's comparing other similar listings in the area to that of yours. So here you see the average nightly rate for the selected listings is $21 higher than similar listings in the area. So my performance here is that I'm getting a little bit more than compared to similar listings in my area, which is great. The next feature is called opportunities to improve. Now, what Airbnb has done is uses metrics to give you recommendations on how to improve and make your listing a lot more competitive. So again, if you want to go under insights here, under opportunities, you'll see here a quick summary. Now, down here are recommendations that Airbnb is offering you to increase the competitiveness of your listing. For example, here I have still listed, or that's pending, allow pets at your place, welcome guests for shorter stays, unblock bookable dates, add heating, switch to flexible cancellation policy. And so below that, you'll see actually actions that have been completed. Again, I have here instant books enabled, cooking basics, offered self check-in, TV. So these are all the features that I have provided my guest. And then these up here are opportunities that I can still offer my guests, but that I haven't. Now, these may or may not be applicable to you. My building, for example, will not allow for pets or animals unless it's a certified service animal. So I do not allow for that. I have here heating. We're in Hawaii, so there's no need for heating. So that's not applicable. So just take a look at these opportunities here. If it's something that you can offer your guests that Airbnb is recommending, then you can simply go in here and obviously offer it in real life and then change this feature, update your listing to say that you are now offering that feature. Again, it just makes your listing a little bit more competitive. And now Airbnb has offered you based on their metrics on how to exactly do that based on what features. The next feature I want to go over is called SuperHost. Now, this is one of the most important features for me as a host. I've been running Airbnb for about 8 to 9 years, and I've been a SuperHost for a majority of that time. Now, I think I recall just missing my SuperHost qualifications only maybe 1 or 2 times. But other than that, SuperHost status on Airbnb as a host is incredibly important, and I'll go over why. So if you look at the screen here under Insights, if you go down to the bottom here, there's actually a whole section called SuperHost. And in here, again, I qualified just this past quarter. They do an assessment every 3 months. They check to see if you've met the SuperHost criteria. And if you have, then they'll give you a badge. It's almost like a verified check on your profile. And it gives you a lot of great benefits. Now, if you look here, I think they have 4 metrics that they use to see if you qualify or not. Again, every three months. You have to have an overall rating of 4.8 or higher. Your response rate has to be above 90%. You've got to have 10 completed stays or 100 nights over 3+ stays, and your cancellation rate cannot be over 1%. So if you qualify for that, then you become a SuperHost based on their evaluation period. And now there's a lot of great benefits to becoming a SuperHost. For one, they give you a $100 credit to use towards your next travel if you're traveling on your own. But for me, what's really important is that if you get SuperHost status, you are really promoted through the platform. I know when I travel, just because I know what it takes, the hard work that it takes to become a SuperHost. So when I travel and I'm using Airbnb as a traveler, I oftentimes filter the listings by SuperHosts. So that the only listings that are popping up that I'm interested are hosts that have qualified for that SuperHost status. Now, not everyone does that, but I know a lot of people do. So when you're in a competitive market like I am in Hawaii, having that SuperHost status is really important in order to get more bookings, and not only to get more bookings, but to get qualified and super high quality guests that are going to come in and communicate well and take care of your place. So I would really strive, if you're not a SuperHost already, or if you're looking to get into Airbnb, I would really look into the SuperHost qualification metrics and make sure that you're doing everything you can so that when those evaluation periods come due, that you are qualified and that you are rewarded that SuperHost status. All right, the next feature is called co-hosting. Now, I don't personally have co-host, but again, this is a really powerful feature that Airbnb has available to the host. If you notice here, I'll go under menus and I'll go under listings. Click on one of your listings, and at the very right-hand side of your tabs here, it'll say co-host. Now, again, I don't have a co-host here, so there's nothing formulated or populated in here. But if you want to get started, you just click on this button and it'll kind of walk you through the process of adding on a co-host. I won't go through this step by step. It's pretty self-explanatory. But what a co-host allows you to do is to have someone that's on the ground. For example, if you're not at the location and you want someone to help manage it, you can add them as a co-host and they'll have access to the back-end system on your platform. So they'll be able to see your schedule. They'll be able to look at and you can actually have a lot of control as the primary host over what they don't have access to. So this is a great way for you if you don't want to be a full-time hands-on host and do everything yourself. This is a great option for you to have on the actual platform in order to add on a co-host so that they can help your Airbnb operation. The next feature I want to go over is called Airbnb Teams, or Teams on Airbnb. I'm not sure, really, to be honest with you, if this is something that Airbnb is pushing really hard for. I know that the feature is there and it works, but I think more people are kind of going towards the co-hosting option versus this Teams. But I did want to mention it because it is a really cool feature that if you're looking and if you're wanting to use it, it's available. And I think it's something that's really proprietary to Airbnb that they really, from a software perspective, do a really good job at. So I'll show you here real quick. Under menus here, about halfway down, you'll see a tab called Teams. If you want to click on that, this screen pops up here where it says Teams on Airbnb. It states here, when you create a team, you're in control of who to invite and how they host on Airbnb. The days of sharing passwords are over. So as opposed to before having to give up your entire platform by giving them your username and your platform and your password, which again, I mean, it is a security risk. This feature allows you to be a host and maintain the security of your platform and your account while adding on people to your team. So I think here you can add on a property manager, you can add on cleaners. And then you can have access and the power to give them access to whatever you want access to on your feature, on your platform. So again, this is a really cool feature. It's quite similar, and I'm sure there's a lot of overlapping between this feature of Teams and co-hosting. But again, this is something that if you haven't looked into, if you're not going to be a full-time host, if you're going to have a team that's around to help you, this is something certainly that you want to look into in order to really buy back a lot of your time and increase your efficiency in your Airbnb operation. All right, the next feature, guys, is called exporting your calendar or sharing your calendar with whomever. I'll show you my screen here. If you go under calendar, if you want to click on one of your listings on the left-hand side, it'll pull up this menu here, or I'm sorry, let's go back here for a second. I think I may have clicked the wrong button here. Okay, let's go to your listings here. It'll pop up a larger version of your calendar on the right, on the left, and it'll give you this little menu on the right. Now click availability on the upper right-hand corner next to pricing. And at the very bottom here under calendar sync, it'll give you the option of importing or exporting or linking your calendar. Now, this is a really cool feature that really changed my business because I have a cleaner that prior to this feature, prior to me using this feature, I would screenshot a photo basically of my calendar and I would message that to my cleaner. It worked for many years, but it's a very inefficient system because if things get booked last minute, and I forget to send it to my cleaners, then they are unaware of that last minute booking. So this is a really powerful feature that gives your cleaner or property manager the ability to look at your calendar in real time. So if you look at the bottom here, it's the Airbnb calendar export feature here. So if you click on the second option here on the bottom, here is a link that you could send to your property manager or your cleaner. You simply copy it and send it to them. Now, once they click on this link, they will have access to your calendar in real time. So if you get a last minute booking, then they have access to it. This is, again, a really powerful feature so that you're not having to manually update your cleaner or your property manager as far as when the guests are checking in and checking out. All right, last but not least, we're going to talk about the payout feature. Now, we all need to get paid, so this is a really important feature that I wanted to share with you guys, and I'll show you my screen here. So under profile, if you go into account at the second menu, under here, you'll see it's the third one on the top called Payments and Payout, if you want to click on that. And the second tab at the top is called Payouts. Now, under this, it'll give you the option here of uploading or inputting your payout method. So I have here, for example, two banks that I want to send it to. Now, this is great for accounting purposes because when you have multiple listings, you may, for accounting purposes, want the payouts to go to different accounts, which is really helpful when it comes down to tax time. So as you can see here, I have 2 listings and I have 2 bank accounts that each of the payouts for each listing go to different bank accounts. Now, you can actually insert, if you have a co-host, you can actually automate this process by having or splitting some of the payouts to your cleaner or to your property manager or to whomever automatically. So you're not having to do that process to manually. So again here, in order to do that, you just click on add payment method and you can add a bank. You can have as many banks as you'd like. And then down here, it specifies exactly how you want to split your payouts. So you can do this. It's really customizable. If you want 20% of your payouts going to one bank account and another 80% going to another bank account, you can do that and you can set that up. So this is a really fantastic feature. It just really makes accounting and bookkeeping a lot easier. And your accountant will be really happy you did this. Again, it's something that you just set up once and kind of forget, but it's a really cool feature to, again, keep you optimized in your Airbnb operation. So there you have it. We went over some really cool features. Again, I didn't touch on all of it. There's a lot of amazing features that Airbnb has for their hosts, and I'm sure I'll probably make a second video on the rest, but those are some of the main features as a super host of 8 years I utilize on a day-to-day basis. Now, I spend probably anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes a week on Airbnb, replying to my guests and so forth. But again, I'm using automation so that, again, I'm buying back all that time. Before I was using a lot of these features, I was spending anywhere between 2 and 3 hours a week, which is still minimal. I mean, I consider that a passive business. But now I've really optimized my business to where I'm halfway across the world here in Denmark and my properties are in Hawaii. And I'm spending 10 minutes a week, mostly interacting with my guests on this business that's bringing in over $150,000 a year in passive income. And I'm doing it, again, by doing almost no work. Now, the work that needs to get done, and so that I'm maintaining that user experience and that guest experience so that when they come to Hawaii, finally, after a whole life of planning and saving, they're having an unbelievable experience. But it does not mean that I have to spend more hours in order for me to provide that. Again, I'm leveraging automation. I'm using the software that Airbnb has provided in order for me to provide that same great experience while I'm really minimizing the time that I'm spending in my business. Because again, if you're spending time in your business, you're another employee of your own business. So you want to make this as passive as possible. And if you implement some of the features that we just went over in this video, I think you're really going to be a lot closer to buying back that time so you can spend with your family and pursuing your dream. So hope that helps, guys. If you found this video and the information in it valuable to you, please do me a huge favor and subscribe down below. Hit a like. And if you have any questions that based on the video or any of the features or something that I haven't discussed that you want me to make a video on, go ahead and comment down below and I'll be sure to address every single comment that I get. But otherwise, have a wonderful day, guys. And until next time.